my name is Mandy Youtz, and I'm here to share with you my getting in and then getting out of debt story. So the story pretty much starts at the beginning of my adulthood, which was right after I graduated from college. I was 22 years old, and I got married a few months later. My husband and I were both working full-time, but we were totally clueless about money. Like most 22-year-olds, I guess, are. So we bought a house because we were like, oh, we don't want to rent, we want to own a home. But we had almost nothing down on it. We bought a bunch of stuff that we really couldn't afford, and right at the beginning of our marriage, we're digging ourselves into a financial hole. And meanwhile, we both came from living with our parents, so we had no idea what it was like to pay bills, what it meant to just stock a house with basic supplies or depend on ourselves to eat. And I had no clue how to budget. I just paid our bills and would check our online banking every day and make sure, see how much money we had left in between paydays. And we just, in between all of that, we depended on credit cards. So every month I was watching the balances on my credit cards just get higher and higher. And I remember at one point I was like, okay, well, our credit cards that we have, they're maxed out. We paid our bills, but we had no money left for food. And we still had a few days left before the next payday. So sometimes in those situations, we would borrow money from our parents, but that's not something you want to do when you're an adult. You want to prove I can do this, I'm an adult. But so a lot of times we just made the best with what we had. So I remember that day we're at a store, and I think that we just were like, okay, let's figure out how we can use this $10 to feed ourselves for 3 days. And we just ended up buying sandwich ingredients. And I just remember watching my husband trying to figure out what can we afford here with this little bit of cash that we have. And something clicked in me that I'm like, you know what? If I can avoid doing this ever again within my power, I'm never doing this again. So that was just something I still can bring myself back to that place and feel those emotions, because it's just this hopeless sinking feeling. And I think that that's the way a lot of people feel about money, which is really sad. But okay, so fast forward in my life a little bit. I now have 2 babies. I have a newborn and a toddler at this point. My first 2 girls are 16 months apart. So we were making better money, but we still couldn't seem to really get ahead. We could pay our bills, and at that point we never had to worry about eating, but we still, through over these years of living like this, we had racked up $40,000 in debt. So a lot of that was from credit cards, but we also had a car loan, and we also had a student loan. And things felt better because we were making more money, but I still didn't have an idea of how we could actually go in the right direction towards paying it off. So we talked about this a little bit, but can you feel like more money's coming in and you're still living the same way? You're living paycheck to paycheck. And the reason what that was because as we began to make more money, we just changed our standard of living to adjust to our new income rather than going in the right direction. So I guess you guys, some of you have done this too. So for example, one time when I was working with Khadija at the jewelry store, I got promoted to store manager, and I was like, yeah, I'm the manager now. I'm going to buy a new car. I got a pay increase, so it felt like I deserved it. I was going to be working so hard, and I'm going to be making more money. So I had this old paid off car and no car payment, and I tacked on a $300 car payment to my family's obligations, and that nearly negated my pay increase. So, if I were texting you this story, this would be where I'd put the emoji with the smack in your face, because seriously, so stupid. Why? Another mistake that I made was thinking that the solution was to consolidate our debt. So I borrowed $10,000 on a debt consolidation loan, and I was like, oh yes, I have $10,000. I'm going to pay off these credit cards. So I go into the online site and I pay them off. I'm like, yes, it feels so good. But you can imagine what happens is when I now had a $325 monthly loan payment, and I hadn't changed anything. I hadn't changed my mindset. I hadn't changed my behavior. I just moved the money around and made it feel better to myself. So because I hadn't really changed anything, the debt started to grow back. Yeah, so right here. Yeah. imagine, my credit card debt started to grow back because I wasn't changing the way that I was living. So now I have credit card payments to make and a loan payment. So I'm a young parent, I have a home, my husband and I both work full time, I have a newborn and a toddler, and we're struggling, like we're still struggling. And it was shortly after this that I met with Khadija and Lisa and I had my financial needs analysis. And she introduced me to this idea of debt stacking. And it gave me just hope to know that there was a way for me to get out of debt if I could change my mindset and just really put my mind to it. So, but just going off of that, I just want to talk about a little bit of the mindset change I had to make, because we can tell you, like they could tell you all the behaviors you need to do, but it starts with changing your mindset. And there's 4 different things that I had to change the way that I was thinking about. Number 1, I had to rethink the American way, which is like our culture just teaching us that debt is a normal part of life, that you're always going to be in debt. And that may be true for some people if they choose to live like that, but if struggling is the normal way, I don't want to do it. So I was like, forget that. I want to be free. I had to give up any idea of keeping up with the Joneses. You guys know what I mean by that? And that's not just something that's in certain places, that's everywhere. We all have like people that we want to impress or feel like we fit in with, and by doing that with money, like looking at what other people are buying or wearing or driving or living, like we are hurting ourselves. So we have to decide. I had to decide for myself, I don't care what anybody else is doing. I care about what my finances look like. I don't care if I'm driving, what I'm driving. I don't care about any of that. I care about my family's stability and financial freedom. So, and going along with that is I had to learn to be content with what we had. So, like if you look around any given day, you'll realize that we're an aggressively marketed to country. And it's ridiculous. And the people who are marketing to us are very, very good at their jobs. So if you do not have your guard up, you will find yourself buying all kinds of things that you didn't need to buy. So I had to learn to be content with what we had, because there's always going to be something else that you want. And then the last thing was what I talked about when I got my car, was I had to ditch this idea of entitlement. Like, oh, I deserve to buy this for myself. I work so hard. And of course, like, I do believe that you deserve to treat yourself sometimes, but I no longer believe that I deserve to buy something until I can actually afford it, till I can actually pay for it. I don't believe in like taking a credit card and going to charge it up. So after I changed my mindset and I was able to change my behavior, I had my husband on board with me, made him change his mindset too, because we're a team, right? So we started budgeting, we made cuts in a lot of areas, and we worked to increase our income so that we were able to accelerate the whole process. And in just about 2 years, my husband and I could officially say that we were debt-free, except for our house. So it is a huge relief not to have that burden of debt anymore. So, but it's actually changed our lives in other ways that have less to do with just like being in debt. But I had been working 50 hours a week at a job that I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. And now I'm free to work a lot less. So I'm able to work part-time because I was able to free up a lot of that obligation, and I get to work from home. I run a blog called The Well and Balanced Mom, and I work part-time as a writer for a local company. So that's like, just to even be able to say that's like amazing, because that's like a dream. Like I always wanted to be a writer, and that's actually what I was able to do, and that would have been something I had to take a slight pay cut to actually do what I wanted to do. So I would never have been able to do that if I was still in debt and just trying to get by. And also, my jobs are just super flexible now, so I can be a mom first. Like I can be with my kids. My kids are young. My oldest is in kindergarten, so you can't put a price tag on that. And I just remember one summer afternoon as I was laying in the grass with my 2 girls in a park, I was like, I just think that, I just started working part-time, like I think I've spent more time with them this summer than I have the whole rest of their lives combined. And it was just the most amazing feeling. So, and then shortly after that, we were able to try for baby number 3, because we're like, oh, we have 2 girls, let's have a boy. yeah, we have 3 girls now. So she just turned 2, our youngest turned 2, and when I was 8 months pregnant, we actually moved into our forever home. So if I hadn't made these changes a few years ago after I sat down with Khadijah and Lisa, I wouldn't have the home I have, I wouldn't have the time, freedom, job that I have. I probably wouldn't even have my 3rd baby because I couldn't have imagined having another child when I was in that situation. So yeah, I just want to encourage you that if you're in a situation like that, if you're in debt and you're feeling overwhelmed, like just have hope because it is absolutely possible. The opportunities and resources are out there. There's people who want to help you. And just think, if you have a new mindset with some hard work, in just a few years, you could be looking at a completely different life.
Right.